This is the War Room Roundtable podcast, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant businessmen and women on the planet. Hear their stories and get the most important business lessons they've learned on the road to success, and get exclusive advice on how to implement their successes into your life and business. The War Room Roundtable is brought to you by your hosts, Jason Miller, CEO of Strategic Advisor Board, and Phillip Lanos, CEO of Own the Rhythm, and former podcast host for Entrepreneur and Inc. Magazine. Welcome to the War Room. Andy, it is a pleasure to have you here. How are you doing?
Hey, it's great to be on the show. I'm honored to be here on the War Room Roundtable. I mean, fantastic. Thanks, guys.
Right on, man. Way to bring the energy. We like to kick things off by asking, do you yourself come from a family of entrepreneurs or something of that nature?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, yeah, my father was an entrepreneur. He was a salesperson, of course. And, I didn't really think about the entrepreneurial journey growing up. I mean, I love sports. I really didn't do very well in school. And I thought I was going to be, a professional football player and then ultimately a coach in the NFL. And I got that entrepreneurial bug, back in college, and one thing led to another. I always had small businesses, and here I am today. So yeah, I came from a family of salespeople and entrepreneurs, and I just learned so much from watching them, how to relate, how to get along with people, how to open up a conversation and really make great friends of not only their clients, but everyone who they met throughout the day. So it was just fun to watch so many talented people in my family, and I'm trying to uphold the candle, but sometimes I will say to myself, maybe I could be doing a lot better.
I see. And at what point in watching all this, in your own development, personally, professionally, did you start to gear towards where you are today?
Yeah, that's really a great question. I mean, I knew even at my first paper route, back when I was 12, 13 years old, that I liked doing something where I made money, of course, but tried to do the best I possibly could. I mean, in my paper route, if I didn't get that paper at the front door in exactly the right location, I wasn't happy. So I always knew that I liked performing. I always knew that I liked making money, but I also knew that what goes along with that is you have to be the best you can possibly be at all times as an entrepreneur and as a businessman. So it started early.
I see. Okay. And was there any explicit moment that you realized, look, I want to go into what is now today .com Magazine and all that? Do you remember how maybe there's like a thread that have you reflected on that?
Yeah, it's a good question. One thing that I've learned along my journey is it's always great to put other people in front of yourself. In other words, if you always take the world from a very egotistical standpoint, you don't get anywhere in the world. So the .com Magazine journey for me really has been learning throughout the years that it's better to put people before you. In other words, at .com Magazine, I interview so many entrepreneurs and founders and CEOs. I'm interested in them. I'm interested in their business and their progress and their methodology, and I'm interested in learning from them. And it really has been the culmination of my journey in learning that you put your ego aside at the door when you're doing something like .com, and you focus on your clients, and that's always a big win-win.
Yeah. Did you, if we put together the fact that you grew up in a sort of sales family, right? Everybody was always having conversations. It was always animated, I imagine. Do you attribute any of your being part of .com Magazine and doing what you do now, maybe potentially to that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I haven't reflected upon that in the way in which you just asked the question, but now that I'm thinking about it, I think things lead to other things in life. And I think an entrepreneurial journey is something that's very fascinating because entrepreneurs, we take risks. And sometimes those risks come through. sometimes you have to sort of get up off your knees and dust yourself off a little bit and, try something again. So I think .com Magazine has been a culmination of not only a lot of wins that I've had in my life, but also a lot of things where maybe they did not turn out the way I wanted them to turn out. I got up off my behind. I, shake myself off. I brushed off my knees and my butt and kept on moving forward. So this is something that has culminated from a lot of wins and a lot of losses.
I see. So you're saying it wasn't your first choice to be doing .com. You ended up here.
Yeah, I ended up here. It's very interesting. Throughout the years, I've been very, very fortunate to have some very great companies. And one thing that I learned is that the people that did all the talking were really the people that were doing all the losing. The people that were doing all the listening really ultimately become the winners. And this is just a great opportunity for me at .com Magazine to listen. And like what you do, Jason, at the War Room, Phillip, at the War Room with Jason, you listen and you get to learn. And it's just a great way to go. And it's a great way to expand one's horizons and also educate oneself on how to get better.
Yeah, man. I'm glad you brought that up. And since we brought him into the conversation, I think it's a perfect opportunity now to shift over to Jason and see what he's doing.
Yeah. There's so much me going on in the world, right? Or, we. I mean, you go to a website and it's all, we can do this, we can do that, we do this, we do that, right? Well, nobody cares, right? And it's really about people. And I say it all the time, it's about relationships, right? And, when I first met you, I knew I was going to get along with you really well because I knew you're a relationship guy. Because a lot of the times I get these introductions with people, right? And I have to really pick and choose what things I'm going to get involved in, right? But your approach was so much different in the way you help people. And those are the kind of things I can get on board with people, that because it's all about the people and it's about nothing else. The rest of the stuff will take care of itself, right? And I really love that your focus is that. And we need a lot more of that in today's business world. To where people just stop putting the monetary part aside, the instant gratification part aside, and just drop value. And then everything else will line up the way it's supposed to. And I mean, it's kind of sales 101, actually.
Yeah, it's so funny, Jason, that you mentioned that. And Phillip, I mean, both of you do such a great job, but isn't it interesting? You mentioned, sales 101, that if you're just good at sales 101 compared to everybody else out there in today's world, you really are head and shoulders above them, because people don't even understand the basics of what it means to really put your clients forward and really take care of them, which is what you do here. I mean, you always have great guests on at the War Room, and Jason, in your business, you always put the client first. And it's so funny that in today's world, all you have to do is just be good at that, and that really makes you great compared to the other people that don't even get it, right?
It's kind of like, be authentic. Isn't that a basic human skill?
Exactly.
Why do we have to learn how to be authentic? Holy crap. That's crazy. That's because people are filling themselves with so much BS, they forgot the stuff they filled themselves with yesterday. That's the problem.
Yeah.
No, this is a huge topic, and I think a recurring theme on the show is the idea of no business is an island, and anyone who purports that self-made, right? That term, if you're in business, you belong to the marketplace, and the marketplace votes you up or votes you down in direct proportion to your ability to create and contribute and add value. So I love that this is a topic of discussion and where this conversation is going. And so now, if we could just take a second to sort of break down a little bit about .com Magazine for yourself and where you see it going as the world starts to shift towards remote work, and there's just an entire macro change in the environment of business these days. I'm curious to see in your own conversations with entrepreneurs if there's anything you may be able to share with us in our community here at SAB.
Yeah, Philip, it's very interesting because everybody needs the right kind of exposure. And a lot of people have great stories, but they can't get the story told. So my goal is to tell great stories for my clients and let them tell their story and put them in the position to get the type of exposure that they deserve. And when we look at the future of media, we look at the future of .com Magazine, it's going to continue to evolve. But I get asked this all the time, what's the future of .com Magazine? And I hate to be naive, but in my entrepreneurial journey, I find that if I focus on the today more than I focus on the future, things work out very well. So I'm focusing on today. I'm focusing on my clients. And if I can just give my clients the best exposure that they possibly can have, I know the future takes care of itself. So the future of .com Magazine, I think, is going to be bright, but the only reason why it's going to be bright is because I'm focusing in today on every single individual client that I have on the show. And that's really, I think, the main key about business that a lot of people forget. A lot of entrepreneurs I speak with, it's all about down the road. It's all about 5 years from now, 10 years from now. But when I speak to them, Phillip, they're not saying anything about their clients today. And I say to myself, if they're not focusing on their clients today and they're so worried about what's happening 5, 10 years down the road, they're never going to get there, because there is not going to be a 5 or 10 years down the road, because they're not focusing in on what they need to do today to make their clients 100% happy with their offering.
That reminds me of an old Korean saying, it's always darkest at the bottom of the lamp. And, that there's also where all the dust collects. You're right. A lot of people do ignore the present moment quite often, especially in business. I don't have to point too far. I could tell you right now, I'm often more focused on what's happening. Oh, what is it going to be like in the next month or this? It's like, oh, you only have today. I can really appreciate and get behind that sentiment. Jason, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's like business plans. I can't stand them. I think it's a joke, right? I've never succumbed to a business plan ever in my life. And well, I can't say that. I guess I have, but now they have automation tools that'll do it in 5 minutes versus 4 days. But if you can't even win something today, then stop worrying about trying to win stuff next week or the week after that or the week. Do you got a plan? Of course. I mean, obviously you do. That's just a thing you have to do. But the beauty behind it, like Andy said, is if you can't make your clients or your customers happy today, well, you don't have a business tomorrow. So why even bother? So just make sure that no matter what you do, you deal with what's right here first in front of your face, right? And knock that out of it, right? Because your clients will then they'll help you handle the rest of the 2 or 3 years ahead, because they'll refer to you. They'll, because you did them great work. And it's something we're lacking nowadays. There is no doubt about that. When, that customer journey, a lot of businesses aren't getting it right. Because I'm a consumer, just like everybody else, right? I buy things. I love it when people say, I don't like to be sold. Well, you like to buy. It's the same damn thing. So, right? But I go through those customer journeys myself every day. And I'll tell you what, I would say 50 to 60% of them are very lacking in that. And those are your fly-by nights. They're going to be gone in 2 years, right? Because it's either that or what's the term? shape up or ship out, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and I absolutely agree with you 100%, Andy, that, you know, today is what matters. And it's not just in business, it's with your family, it's with friends. Be in it today, in the moment, because who knows, you might get in your car and get hit by a freaking train later today. So enjoy it while it's here.
So this is a perfect opportunity, Andy. Behind you, I see that nothing is impossible, right? Now, that is a specific choice. I'd love to know more about why that is something that you want to broadcast to the world.
Yeah, I love it. And thank you so much for asking that question, Phillip, because, you know, as Jason was saying, you know, we have one shot at the title, and we see so many people and so many companies that focus in on the wrong thing. They're not focusing in on what value they're bringing to their customer and why their customer will want to buy from them time and time again and tell the world about the offering. So nothing is impossible sort of is an offshoot of something that my wife and I, Kristen, like to say quite often, which is why not? Why not? In other words, when somebody comes to you with a proposal, or somebody has something for you to do, or somebody that has in business an idea, you should say yes before no. In other words, why not? You can always say no as you fully go through the process of the decision-making process. But in life, it's better to say yes before no, especially in business. That's what I believe. It's better to say why not if somebody comes to you with an idea. And then you can fully develop the strategy to determine whether it's a yes or a no by the time you get done fully developing the strategy. But oftentimes in life and in business, people say no. It's the first thing they say. They're can't-do people. See, we love people that are can-do people. We love people that raise their children to be can-do people instead of can't-do people. And nothing is impossible basically means that if you come at life and come at your business with this yes before no attitude and this why not attitude, and then surround yourself with talented people like, you know, Jason does with, you know, the strategic advisor board, who really care about you, nothing really is impossible when it comes to business or your life. Now, of course, I'm not going to be a 365-pound nose guard in the NFL. That's impossible. But in business, typically, when somebody comes to you with an idea, say yes before no, say why not, fully take a look at it before you make your final decision. If it's a no, it's a no. But still, nothing is impossible, even to say no to an idea that doesn't work for you.
You know, I can see what you're talking about, because if there's a creative energy, a creative force that's emerging through the symbol or vessel of one of your team members, potentially somebody who's trying to pitch you, there's often a creative energy behind that, right? There's something that wants to create, that wants to bring forth. And if your first reaction to most of that energy everywhere you go in your operations is no, well, you've sucked the juice dry, for lack of a better phrase there, of your business, the sauce, the stuff. And I can get behind the idea of, you know, just open yourself up to the creative process. Personally, one of the things I found that I've been doing a lot and didn't even realize during this whole change from the pandemic, it happened somewhere around when that all started and remote work became more of a thing and people were staying indoors more because of all that. I found that without even noticing, I personally had also developed antisocial tendencies. Sure, I did my work and what have you, but in my life, I became antisocial and didn't even realize it. Doesn't mean I was rude. It just meant I wasn't around people anymore as often as I was. And in business, you cannot afford that. And I have identified that to be a problem I myself have been facing lately for a number of reasons. And I just think it goes along that same thread. There's something to that. You got to be a part of the stuff. That's really what we're getting at here. I think it's a perfect opportunity to ask you, if you could grab someone by the ear and just tell them, look, this is really what I believe. This is the advice I have to give. Andy, what would you say to them?
That's a great question. I think the answer is best described as just a short story. When I speak with people and I say to people, how are you doing? Especially entrepreneurs that I speak with all day long. Sometimes I hear hanging in there. How you doing? Oh, I'm hanging in there. I guess to answer your question, that story really resonates for me, and hopefully it will resonate for your audience, because frankly, I'm not really interested in doing business with someone that's just hanging in there. It doesn't turn me on. I want to do business with someone that's rocking it, that's doing fantastic, that even if they are just hanging in there, I don't want to hear about it. I want to hear that they're doing fantastic. And someone said to me, Jake, what if I'm not doing fantastic? Should I still say fantastic? And my answer is yes. You're fantastic all the time. They don't know if you're fantastically bad or fantastically great, but you definitely are fantastic. But I don't particularly love the entrepreneur that's just hanging in there. It's not someone I want to do business with, really, and someone that I really don't want to interact with, unless, of course, they reach out and they say, hey, Jake, I'm just hanging in there. Can you help? And then, of course, I'm always available to help in any way that I can. So I think that parable, that sort of story might answer your question the best that I can, Phillip.
Yeah, no, it speaks exactly to what I was just talking about earlier. Antisocial can be as much as you not asking for help when you really need it. That's like, it's crazy. It's so subtle, but it's so accurate for especially younger, less experienced people. Because Jason is a beast when it comes to, like, I've seen him move and shake, man. He knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, and that's what you got to do. Like we talked about from the beginning of this as the recurring theme. You're not an island.
Yeah. And Jason, of course, has the secret sauce in what he does, because he's genuine. And one thing that's very interesting that you mentioned, Phillip, is, through what's happened over the past couple of years, a lot of people are thinking about their social aspect of life. And, humans are social beings. And these Zoom calls and these video calls are fantastic. They've really opened up the world in so many ways, especially at DotCom Magazine, of course, and with your, War Room, roundtable. But we need interaction. We're social beings. We need to see people and observe them. And what we don't get on these video casts is really body language. We don't get to see what's going on below the shoulders, and a lot of communication is done through body language. So I hear what you're saying, Phillip. I mean, everybody's feeling a little unsure of themselves, about this social aspect of, where they're coming from and where they're going. But what I can say for sure is get out there, get in the mix, get in the world, get some FaceTime on some people if you're ready, and get back to being a social being, because it's only going to do great things for you.
Yeah, man.
It's interesting, if I could say something, because I mean, I've not always been the way I am now, because of, while we were talking, we were on just on a radio show, me and Phillip, a little bit ago, and we were talking about the evolution of humans, right? And we all have to evolve, right? And it wasn't really introverted. I wouldn't say I've ever been an introvert, but things happened in my military career that kind of caused me to clam up sometimes, and so on and so forth. So I forced myself to become a relationship builder. I forced myself to do that. And that broke me out of the shell, completely broke me out of the shell. And even if I don't want to do it, I force myself to do it. And I'm never just hanging in there either. No matter what, no matter how I feel that day, because we all have bad days. To say otherwise is ludicrous, right? But it's all about, it's like I tell my son every day when he gets up and he's grumpy or something, I was like, well, hey, dude, it's your day. You control it, right? So it can either be miserable or you can snap out of it and get to rolling with your day, having fun. So that's how I approach life. So
yes, it's that state of mind, right? I mean, not necessarily mindset, but state of mind, right?
Yeah. To quote Platoon, free your mind, your ass will follow.
Right, exactly.
I think this is a great opportunity to be able to give. Speaking of community socializing, being out there, we do have somebody that has made this episode possible, and I hope you guys don't mind. I'll bring them in. I want to mention ProShark and Joel Phillips. Essentially, they believe that when it comes to business, you're never done growing, and I think all of us can agree with that here. And whether you're starting out or actually further in and you're pretty established, at the end of the day, you're always going to be looking at your tech stack, right? To start off, what am I looking at? How am I going to get it started, from website to tools to security for all your stuff? And it goes even further with established people, especially doubly so. Especially if you're in e-commerce, you need that security because you take a lot of payment information in and it needs to be developed properly. Well, guess what? ProShark can help you with all of that. So the next time you're thinking about your tech stack, make sure to keep ProShark in mind. You can go to proshark.com and tell them the War Room sent you. With that said, let's really dive in and bring this home now. So we've addressed the giving people advice. We've heard your journey and how you came from, a family that really had the gift of gab, if you will, and how that translated over into you eventually finding your way to DotCom Magazine. So the question is, the $1 million question, the grand finale question is, if you could have invited anybody to this conversation today, dead or alive, any point in place in time, who would you have loved to have had here today, and why them?
That's a great question. There's so many people throughout history that I would love to spend some time with. I've been very honored and blessed to have met so many talented people throughout my career. But the answer is not going to be someone that typically someone would think of as a business mind. It's more of a historical figure that I think would just be fascinating to have on our show today. And his name was Moses. And we hear about Moses, no matter what, you think about religion, or no matter what you think about the world or history, we all have heard about this figure named Moses. And man, I have a lot of questions for Moses. And someone that's lived so long and somebody that did so much, that's a wise person. And the more we can surround ourselves, Phillip and Jason, with wise people that just know so much more about things than what we do. And everybody has people that can be their mentors and people that they can learn from, and family members that can give them insight. I think it would just be fun to have somebody with that type of wisdom on the show to maybe keep, Phillip, I, and Jason straight, and, make sure they give us a little more wisdom than what we currently have.
Absolutely. It's another theme of the day, right? Evolution and being willing to be humble in front of that process, and what that requires at times is opening yourself up to new education, new experiences, new perspectives. So, man, that is a sign of an entrepreneur, someone willing to let go of what they are for what they can become. And I think there's a lot to be said about that. I can see why you do the conversations in the way that you do them. Just hearing, I can almost imagine what the show is like, and I'll have to make an effort to go check out what you're doing. But it really has been a pleasure getting to know you. It is tradition around here that Jason closes us out, though. So I'm going to turn it over to him.
Yeah, Andy, man, I got to know you really good on DotCom Magazine, the interview we did, and you're a phenomenal human being, my friend. And just keep doing what you're doing, because the work that you are doing is nothing short of amazing. And I do believe that you do follow the nothing is impossible, for sure. It just oozes out of your skin. Oh my God. So just keep doing what you're doing, and however we can support you. Now, I'm always a phone call away, for sure. But thanks for being here, brother.
Yeah, thank you so much. And It's been great. And Jason and Phillip, thank you both, because I'm pulling something from my interview on the show as part of the roundtable from each of you. So I'm walking away becoming much better in my own business life and personal life. Phillip, of course, hearing you talk about, what it takes to get back into the game and be a socially active being. And of course, Jason, what you're doing at Strategic Advisor Board and the way in which you always look at the world, in a way that you say to yourself, man, if I believe it and I think it, I can do it. So thank you both for bringing something to my life as well.
Hey,
Awesome.
man, there it is. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the War Room Roundtable with your hosts, Jason Miller and Phillip Lanos. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and always remember, if you can dream it and believe it, then you can go achieve it. We'll see you in the next episode.